Imagine waking up one day, not to the sound of alarms or the weight of responsibilities, but to a quiet knowing, a deep, unshakable truth that everything you've gone through was never a mistake, that your soul chose this exact journey, the joy, the heartbreak, the silence, and the storm, to shape you, not shatter you. That every moment of pain held a hidden teaching. Every loss carved space for deeper love, and every sleepless night was preparing you for this one. Tonight isn't just about rest, it's about remembering. Remembering that time is an illusion, that peace isn't found, it's remembered, and that you are not broken, you are becoming. So close your eyes, not to escape the world, but to return to who you truly are beneath it all. Timeless, whole, and exactly where you're meant to be. Lesson 1, your soul chose this journey. Imagine if you knew, deep in your bones, that none of this was random. Not the pain, not the joy, not even the silence. Your soul didn't land here by accident. Long before your body took its first breath, your soul whispered yes. Yes to this human experience. Yes to the challenges, the beauty, the unraveling. It didn't come here to play it safe. It came to grow, to awaken, to remember. You see, suffering only feels senseless when we forget its purpose. But from a higher view, from the quiet perch of the soul, every scar is sacred, every loss a doorway, every detour a design. The people who left you, they were part of the agreement. The moments that broke you, they were part of the path. You came here to learn forgiveness, not because you're weak, but because your spirit is strong enough to love through the pain. You came to let go of what doesn't last, to remember what always does. You came to see your own reflection in others, to dance with joy, to kneel in grief, to walk through fire and rise. And though you've forgotten the contract, your soul has not. Even tonight, as you lie in stillness, a deeper part of you remembers. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are returning. This journey is yours, but it was also chosen, and everything you faced has prepared you for what's coming next. Not everyone will understand your path, but that's okay. It wasn't made for them. Your soul said yes to a story only you could live, and it is still unfolding, beautifully. Lesson 2, you will lose everything you cling to. There's a quiet truth that echoes through every sacred teaching, every wise soul, every fading sunset. What you cling to will be taken. Not as punishment, but as freedom. The tighter you hold, the more it slips through your fingers, because this life was never meant to be held, only experienced. You will lose the things you once thought defined you: youth, status, lovers, even your own face in the mirror. Everything you've ever tried to possess, from people to moments to identities, will eventually dissolve. And that's not tragic, that's awakening. You were never meant to carry forever what was only meant to pass through. The people who left were part of the teaching. The dreams that died made space for something wilder. Even your own thoughts, the ones you grip so tightly, are not truly yours. They rise and fall like clouds, uncatchable, passing. And when you cling, you suffer. Not because life is cruel, but because you're asking permanence from something that was born to change. A tree lets go of its leaves every autumn, not out of despair, but because it trusts spring will come again. Nature shows us this in everything. Release is not the end. It is the beginning. But we forget. We grasp. We beg the moment to stay a little longer. We clutch on to love, success, even pain, because it makes us feel certain, safe, solid. But the truth is, you were never meant to be anchored to form. You are not this job, this title, this body. You are the awareness behind it all, and awareness cannot cling. It simply watches and flows. When the things you cling to begin to fall away, don't resist. Breathe, bow, trust. What is real cannot be taken. What is eternal cannot be lost. The more you let go, the lighter you become. And the lighter you become, the closer you float to peace. So tonight, unclench your fists. Loosen your grip. Let go, not of life, but of the illusion that anything in it can be owned. Let it pass. Let it change. Let it all become sacred again. You will lose everything you cling to, and in that loss, you will find everything you truly are. Lesson 3, the darkness is a teacher, not a threat. We are taught to fear the dark, to run from it, to fill it with noise, light, and distractions, to act as though its presence is a sign of something wrong. But the truth is, darkness has always been our first teacher. Before we were born, we spent months wrapped in the stillness of darkness, held, protected, and formed in the quiet absence of light. It wasn't an enemy, it was the womb of creation. So why now as adults do we resist the dark so fiercely? The answer lies in the false belief that darkness is synonymous with danger, that struggle is failure, and that pain is punishment. But in Buddhist teachings, darkness is not something to be feared. It is the very ground from which wisdom grows. It is the space in which transformation begins. Just as a seed must burrow deep into the earth before it can sprout, just as a lotus blooms from muddy waters, you too must pass through the darkness to emerge into the light. Darkness does not destroy you. Your resistance to it does. When life strips away the comforts you've clung to, when you're left alone with nothing but your breath and your thoughts, that's not a curse. It's a classroom. In these moments of solitude, sorrow teaches empathy. Grief cracks you open so that light can enter, and loneliness deepens your understanding of your own presence. But these lessons come only if you choose to sit with the darkness, to look it in the eye, to meet it without fear or resistance. Darkness is where the deepest growth occurs, where the soul is shaped, not in spite of it, but because of it. So if you are walking through your own darkness tonight, remember that it is not the end of your story. It is not a threat, but a teacher, and it came not to harm you, but to show you the truth. You are not broken, you are becoming. The dark is simply preparing you for the light. Lesson 4, healing is not linear, it's a spiral. We often think healing should be simple and straight. We believe that once we heal, we'll feel better and the pain will be gone forever. We imagine that there's a clear path from hurt to happiness, from broken to whole. But that's not how healing works. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a circle, a spiral, where sometimes we move forward, sometimes backward, and sometimes we go around the same thing over and over. We might think we've healed from something, only to find it popping up again when we least expect it. A memory, a trigger, something small that reminds us of the past. And in those moments, it can feel like we haven't healed at all, that we're stuck in the same place. But this is the spiral of healing. Each time you return to a past hurt, you're not going backward. You're moving forward, even if it feels like you're repeating old feelings. Every time you circle back to a wound, you're learning something new about yourself. You're growing, even if you can't see it right away. Think of healing like climbing a mountain. At first, you may seem to be stuck in one place, walking around the same area. But every time you go around, you're climbing higher, even if it doesn't feel like it. The view may look the same, but you're looking at it from a different place, from a new perspective. This is how healing works. It's a process of coming back to the same place, again and again, but with more wisdom, more peace, and more strength each time. You might feel like you're stuck in pain or old emotions, but each time you go through it, you're learning to handle it better, to grow stronger. Healing isn't about getting rid of the past. It's about learning to live with it, accepting it, and finding a way to keep moving forward despite it. And when you stop expecting it to be perfect, you'll see that this spiral is actually a beautiful thing. It's life, it's growth, and it's the way we learn to love ourselves more deeply. Every time we face the same feelings, we are growing, evolving, and becoming more whole. So when you feel like you're stuck or you're not healing as fast as you want, remember you're not going backwards. You're moving forward in your own way. Healing is not a straight path, but a journey of deepening, learning, and finding peace in the process. Lesson 5. Time is an illusion of the human mind. We live as though time is something solid, something that controls us, moves us, and measures our lives. We see time as a ticking clock, a set number of hours, minutes, and seconds that define the rhythm of our days. But what if this idea of time is not as real as we think? What if time, as we know it, is just an illusion? Something our minds created to make sense of life. In reality, time does not exist as a physical thing. It is a concept, a tool we use to organize our experiences. When we look at a clock or calendar, we're not seeing time itself. We're seeing a way to divide up life into manageable chunks. Time moves in a straight line in our minds, but in truth, everything is happening now. The past is no longer real, and the future is not yet here. The only true moment is this one, the one you're living right now. And yet, we're often caught up in thinking about the past or worrying about the future. We spend so much time looking behind us or ahead of us that we forget to fully live in the present moment, the only time that truly exists. Our minds create a false sense of urgency. We feel rushed, anxious, and as though we are constantly running out of time. We think that we're behind or late, but these feelings only exist in the mind's perception of time. In truth, there is no such thing as being behind in life. There is only where you are right now. If you could step outside of time, if you could see things from a place beyond the ticking of the clock, you would realize that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The past is a memory, the future a dream. All we really have is the present moment, and it is enough. Time teaches us to wait, to be patient, to grow, but it also traps us in feelings of regret, fear, and longing. When we realize that time is an illusion, we free ourselves from its hold. We stop rushing, we stop worrying, we start living fully and completely in the now. The more you let go of the need to control time, the more you realize that you already have everything you need, right in this moment. Life is not about racing against time. It's about learning to flow with it, to dance in the present, to let go of the illusion that we are running out of time. And when you do, you'll find that time loses its power over you. You are not bound by the clock. You are free to simply be. Lesson 6. Love isn't a feeling, it's a frequency. Another way to look at love is not as something you feel, but as something you are. We often think of love as a feeling that comes and goes, a spark when we meet someone, or a warm feeling we get when we're surrounded by people we care about. But love is more than that. It's not just a feeling. Love is a frequency, an energy that flows through us, something we can tune into at any time. Imagine a radio. When you turn it on, you can choose the station you want to listen to. Each station has its own vibe, its own energy. Love works in the same way. It's a specific energy that you can choose to tune into, no matter what's happening in your life. When you tune into love, it changes the way you see the world. It opens your heart, calms your mind, and makes you feel more connected to others. But just like a radio, if you're not paying attention, you can end up tuning into something else, like fear, anger, or sadness. These are different frequencies, and they will affect the way you experience life. But love is always there, waiting for you to tune into it. It's a vibration that is constant, that is always available, no matter where you are or what you're feeling. And once you start tuning into love, everything changes. You see the world through a lens of compassion. You act with kindness, even when it's hard. You begin to feel more at peace with yourself and with others. The beautiful thing about love as a frequency is that it's not something you need to wait for or look for in others. You already have it inside you. All you have to do is choose it. When you choose to tune into the love frequency, you attract more love into your life. It's not about waiting for love to come to you. It's about realizing that love is always present, always available, and it starts with you. So the next time you feel disconnected or alone, remember that love isn't something you have to wait for. It's a frequency you can tune into at any time. And when you do, everything in your world begins to shift for the better. Lesson 7. True peace is not found, it's remembered. Have you ever felt like you are searching for peace? Maybe you think that peace is something you need to find, like a destination you will reach once you have everything in your life just right. But what if peace isn't something you find at all? What if peace is already within you and all you need to do is remember it? In our busy lives, we are constantly taught to search for things: success, love, happiness, and even peace. We believe that peace will come once we have the right job, the perfect relationship, or once we have solved all our problems. We spend our lives thinking that peace is something we have to achieve, but this is not true. True peace is not something we need to find. It's already inside us. It's not about reaching a point in our lives where everything is perfect. It's about remembering the peace that is already there, waiting for us to reconnect with it. Imagine peace as the sky. The sky is always there, whether it's clear or cloudy. Sometimes the clouds hide the sky, but the sky doesn't disappear. It's still there, even when we can't see it. Peace is like that. It's always there, even when we feel overwhelmed or stressed. We might be distracted by worries, fears, and daily struggles, but peace is still inside us, waiting for us to notice it again. When you think about the times you felt at peace, it's probably not when everything in your life was perfect. Instead, it was probably a moment when you felt calm and centered, even though things weren't ideal. That peace wasn't something you found. It was something you remembered. It was the deep, quiet part of you that knew how to feel calm, no matter what was happening around you. The problem is that we often forget this peace. Life's distractions, the noise in our minds, and the constant search for more make it hard to remember that peace is always there. We start to believe that peace is something we will find only after everything else in our lives is perfect. But peace isn't about perfection. It's about acceptance. Accepting yourself and accepting the present moment exactly as it is. True peace isn't about solving all your problems. It's about finding stillness inside yourself, even when your life is messy or uncertain. You don't have to wait for the world to calm down to feel peaceful. You can feel peace right now. In fact, the more you remember that peace is always there, the easier it becomes to tap into it, no matter what is happening in your life. So next time you feel stressed, lost, or overwhelmed, take a deep breath and remember. Peace is not something you need to find. It's already inside you. It's not about waiting for the world to change. It's about returning to the quiet, calm place within yourself. Peace is always there, even if it's hidden behind clouds of worry. When you remember it, you reconnect with that inner calm, and everything in your life starts to feel a little easier. True peace is not found, it's remembered. Lesson 8. Suffering ends, where meaning begins. Have you ever wondered why we suffer? It's a question that many people have asked throughout history, and it's one that seems to have no easy answer. We often think that suffering is something that just happens to us, something we have no control over. We believe that suffering comes from the outside, from our circumstances, our relationships, our job, or our health. And while it's true that external events can bring pain and hardship, the root of suffering is often deeper than that. The truth is that suffering doesn't begin with what happens to us. It begins with the meaning we attach to those events. The way we perceive the world and the way we interpret the things that happen in our lives determines whether we suffer or not. Suffering starts when we give meaning to pain, to loss, to disappointment, or to failure. It begins when we believe that things should be different than they are. Imagine for a moment that you are going through a difficult time. Maybe you've lost a loved one, experienced a failure, or faced a setback. In those moments, it's easy to feel that your world is falling apart. Your mind starts to say things like, "This isn't fair," "I don't deserve this," or "Why is this happening to me?" These thoughts create a story about your situation, a story of loss, unfairness, and pain. And when you attach meaning to those thoughts, the suffering begins. The more you believe in that story, the more you experience suffering. But what if you could change the story? What if you could see your suffering from a different perspective? One that doesn't focus on pain, loss, or unfairness, but instead on the meaning you can create from it? This is where true transformation happens. When you shift the meaning you attach to your experiences, you can end suffering. This idea is central to Buddhist teachings, where it is said that suffering is an inevitable part of life, but it is also something we can transform. Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving, attachment, and ignorance. We suffer when we want things to be different from how they are. We suffer when we hold on to the belief that we can control everything, or that we can escape pain and discomfort. But what if we could change our relationship with suffering? What if we could learn to see it as a teacher rather than an enemy? When we change the way we see suffering, it begins to lose its power over us. Instead of reacting with resistance and fear, we can face it with openness and curiosity. We can ask ourselves, what is this teaching me? What can I learn from this experience? In doing so, we begin to find meaning in the pain. The pain is still there, but it no longer controls us. We see it as an opportunity for growth, for learning, for deepening our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This is not to say that suffering is easy, or that we should simply ignore our pain. Suffering can be deep and overwhelming, and it's important to honor our feelings and give ourselves space to heal. But when we learn to attach meaning to our suffering, when we can look at it as a part of the human experience that can teach us, shape us, and guide us, we free ourselves from being trapped in it. The key is in how we approach suffering. When we see it as something that has a purpose, something that can lead us to greater wisdom, we no longer need to resist it. We no longer need to fight it. Instead, we accept it as a part of the journey, just as much a part of life as joy, love, and success. We learn to navigate it with grace and understanding, knowing that it doesn't define us. Suffering in this way becomes a stepping stone. It's a way for us to break through our attachments, our illusions, and our false beliefs about how life should be. It's a doorway to freedom. The more we are able to look at suffering in this way, the less it has a hold on us. We begin to realize that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control the meaning we give to it. And when we change that meaning, we change our experience of suffering. In every difficult moment, there is a choice. We can choose to focus on the pain, to dwell on how unfair life is, to become trapped in the cycle of suffering. Or we can choose to focus on the meaning. We can choose to see the lesson in every challenge, the opportunity for growth in every setback. We can choose to turn suffering into a teacher, to embrace it with an open heart and a curious mind, and to allow it to lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. In the end, suffering ends where meaning begins. When we choose to see meaning in the pain, we no longer need to hold on to it. We let it go, and in doing so, we free ourselves. We step into a space of peace, acceptance, and wisdom. And that is where true healing begins. Lesson 9. You are part of something vast and unseen. Have you ever felt small, insignificant, or disconnected from the world around you? Perhaps you've wondered if your life really matters, or if there's any greater purpose to your existence. It's easy to feel lost in the overwhelming complexity of life, especially when we see ourselves as separate from the world or from others. We get caught up in the details of our daily lives, work, relationships, personal struggles, and sometimes it feels like we are just one tiny part in an enormous, chaotic world. But the truth is that you are not small and you are not separate. In fact, you are part of something vast and unseen, something far greater than you can imagine. This idea might sound abstract, but it's deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings and the wisdom of many spiritual traditions. They all point to the same truth. We are not isolated beings moving through life alone. We are all interconnected, part of a greater whole that is vast, infinite, and mysterious. This larger whole is often referred to as the unseen, because it is not something we can touch or see with our physical eyes, but it is something that exists beyond our immediate perception. The first step in understanding this is to realize that you are not just your body, your thoughts, or your individual experiences. These things are part of you, but they are not the entirety of who you are. You are a part of a much bigger picture, an intricate web of life that connects everything and everyone. Your actions, thoughts, and emotions ripple out into the world, affecting not only your life, but the lives of others as well. You are part of a universal flow that extends far beyond your personal world. It's easy to forget this when we are caught up in our individual struggles and desires. We can get lost in the small self, the part of us that worries about our job, our reputation, our success, or our failures. But the small self is only a small piece of who you are. It's the ego, the part of us that is concerned with personal gain and loss. The ego often leads us to believe that we are separate from others and that our lives are just a random collection of events. But when we step back and see ourselves from a larger perspective, we can begin to understand that we are part of a greater whole. Think of a tree. A single tree might seem like a separate entity, standing alone in the forest. But if you look closely, you'll see that it's deeply connected to the ecosystem around it. Its roots reach deep into the earth, connecting it to the soil, the water, and the nutrients that sustain it. Its branches stretch out into the air, absorbing sunlight and giving off oxygen. The tree is not isolated, it is part of a larger system that supports and sustains it. In the same way, you are not isolated. You are part of a vast interconnected web of life that stretches across time and space. This interconnectedness is something we often forget, especially when we are focused on our individual struggles. We forget that the world around us is alive with energy and that we are part of that energy. Every breath you take connects you to the world. Every action you make creates a ripple in the universe. When you realize this, you begin to see that your life is part of something much bigger than yourself, something that is unseen, but real. This unseen force is not something mystical or distant. It is the interconnectedness of all life, the energy that flows through everything and everyone. It is the web of relationships, the invisible ties that bind us all together. It is the wisdom that exists beyond the individual mind, the knowledge that we are all part of the same cosmic dance. Whether you call it the universe, God, the Tao, or something else, this unseen force is what connects us all, and it is always at work, guiding us, supporting us, and reminding us of our place in the greater whole. When we forget our connection to this vast, unseen web, we can feel isolated, alone, and disconnected. But when we remember our interconnectedness, we realize that we are never truly alone. We are always supported by the greater whole, always part of something bigger than ourselves. This realization brings a sense of peace, knowing that we are not just individuals fighting through life, but integral parts of a vast, harmonious system that is always working for our highest good. So the next time you feel small, insignificant, or disconnected, take a moment to remember that you are part of something vast and unseen. You are not alone. You are connected to everything around you, and your life has meaning and purpose within this greater whole. Whether you can see it or not, there is a force greater than yourself that is guiding you, supporting you, and reminding you of your place in the universe. And this understanding can bring you peace, knowing that your life is not just a random series of events, but part of a grand, interconnected dance that has been unfolding for eternity. You are part of something vast and unseen, and this is the most profound truth you can ever remember. You are not just an individual. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are a living, breathing expression of the infinite. And when you remember this, everything in your life becomes full of meaning, purpose, and connection. Lesson 10. Death is not the end. Death is something that everyone will face, yet it is one of the most mysterious aspects of life. From the moment we are born, we are living with the knowledge that one day we will die. It's something that we can never escape, no matter how much we try to avoid thinking about it. But what if I told you that death is not the end? What if death is not the final chapter, but a part of an eternal journey? This concept might be hard to accept at first, especially in a world that views death as a definitive end. But according to Buddhist teachings and the wisdom of many spiritual traditions, death is simply a transition, a transformation, not an end. We often think of death as the ultimate end, the closing of a book, the final breath. We see it as something final, something that brings everything to a stop. But if you take a step back and look at nature, you'll see that life and death are not opposites. They are simply two sides of the same coin. Life cannot exist without death, and death cannot exist without life. Everything that lives eventually dies, and everything that dies eventually returns in a new form. This idea of the cycle of life and death is deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy, which teaches that life is cyclical and ever-changing. The concept of samsara, or the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, is central to Buddhism. In this view, death is not something to fear or resist, but something that is natural and inevitable. It's not the end of the story, but a turning of the page to a new chapter. The body may die, but the spirit or the essence of who we are continues on. Think about the seasons. Winter comes, and everything seems to die. The trees lose their leaves, the flowers fade, and the world seems to fall into a deep sleep. But after winter comes spring, and with it comes new life. The trees begin to bloom, flowers start to grow, and the earth comes alive again. This cycle of life and death is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. It is a reminder that life is always in motion, always evolving, always changing. In the Buddhist view, death is not an end, but a transformation. It is simply a part of the natural flow of life. Just as the seasons change, so too does the body, but our consciousness, our true self, beyond the physical form, continues its journey. Death is not the end of our existence, but a transition to a new phase of being. This idea is not just confined to Buddhism. Many spiritual traditions believe in the continuation of the soul after death. Whether you believe in reincarnation, an afterlife, or something else, the idea that death is not the end is deeply comforting. It reminds us that we are not simply our bodies, that we are something more, something eternal, something that exists beyond the physical world. When we realize that death is not the end, we can begin to live more fully. If we believe that our time is limited and that death is the ultimate finality, we might live in fear, constantly trying to hold on to everything we have. We might avoid change, resist growth, and fear letting go of things, relationships, or even our own identity. But when we realize that death is just a part of the journey, we can let go of that fear. We can embrace the flow of life and death as natural, knowing that everything we experience is part of the larger cycle. This understanding also helps us let go of attachment. In Buddhism, attachment is seen as the root of suffering. We cling to people, possessions, and ideas, believing that these things define us, that they are all that we have. But if we understand that death is not the end, that life is an ongoing journey, we can begin to release our attachments. We can begin to live in the present, appreciating what we have without holding on to it too tightly. We can embrace the impermanence of life, knowing that everything changes and that this change is not something to fear. This perspective allows us to approach death with more peace. Rather than seeing death as a scary, unknown force, we can begin to see it as a natural part of life's flow. We can view it with acceptance and even gratitude. Death teaches us the value of life. It reminds us that everything we have, everyone we love, is temporary. And in that temporariness, we find beauty. We realize that it is precisely because life is fleeting that it is so precious. Death teaches us to cherish each moment, to appreciate what we have, and to live fully. So when we think about death, we can choose to see it as a natural transition, not the end. It is a reminder that life is cyclical and that we are part of a greater ongoing process. We are all connected to something much larger than ourselves, something eternal. The body may die, but the spirit, the essence of who we are, continues. It transforms, evolves, and carries on. Death is not the end. It is simply the beginning of something new. When you understand this, death loses its power to frighten you. Instead of fearing the inevitable, you can approach it with peace, knowing that it is a natural part of life's journey. And in doing so, you free yourself from the anxiety and fear that often surrounds death. You realize that it is not the end, but just another step in the endless cycle of life. And in that realization, you can find peace. Peace with yourself, peace with life, and peace with death. Lesson 11. Not all that glitters is growth. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in the illusion of success, fame, and external achievements. We are constantly bombarded with images of perfect lives, perfect bodies, perfect relationships. Social media, advertising, and even the people around us often paint a picture that suggests that the more we acquire, the better we become. More wealth, more followers, more validation. This is what we are told leads to happiness and fulfillment. But what if I told you that not all that glitters is actually growth? That sometimes what appears to be success on the outside is actually hiding a deeper emptiness within? This lesson is about peeling back the layers of illusion and looking deeper into what true growth really means. True growth isn't about accumulating things or gaining status. It's not about becoming the richest, the most popular, or the most admired. Growth isn't measured by the number of things you own or the approval you receive from others. In fact, these external markers of success can sometimes be the very things that keep you from growing in the ways that truly matter. At its core, growth is an internal process, not an external one. It's about evolving, becoming more mindful, more compassionate, more self-aware. It's about learning to let go of what no longer serves you, the fears, the attachments, the judgments, and the egos that hold you back. It's about stripping away the layers of superficiality and getting to the core of who you really are. True growth happens when you move beyond the surface and into the depths of your inner world. The Buddha taught that life is full of suffering and that much of this suffering is caused by our attachment to things that are fleeting and impermanent. When we chase after external markers of success, we are often chasing things that do not lead to lasting fulfillment. They may glitter and shine for a time, but eventually they fade away. Wealth can be lost, fame can be fleeting, and even relationships can change. The things that once seemed so important lose their luster, leaving us feeling empty and unfulfilled. This is why the Buddha also taught the importance of non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean that we should reject all the good things in life, but rather that we should not allow ourselves to be overly attached to them. When we attach ourselves too strongly to external things, we lose sight of the deeper, more lasting sources of happiness and growth. We begin to define our worth by the things we possess or the status we have, and we forget that true worth comes from within. Think of a beautiful, shiny object that catches your attention. It may sparkle and gleam, but when you get closer, you realize that it is fragile, easily damaged, and not as substantial as it first appeared. In the same way, the external things we chase in life can seem exciting and alluring at first, but they often lack the depth and substance that true growth requires. The real growth in your life will never come from external sources. It comes from within, from your ability to develop a deep understanding of yourself, your purpose, and your place in the world. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't work hard, achieve goals, or pursue success, but it does mean that we need to ask ourselves, what kind of growth are we truly seeking? Is it the superficial growth that comes from recognition and validation? Or is it the deeper growth that comes from understanding our true nature, learning from our mistakes, and becoming more aligned with our authentic self? True growth is often quiet, humble, and slow. It doesn't come with flashy displays of success or instant recognition. It comes in the form of small, consistent actions over time. It comes in the form of patience, resilience, and self-compassion. It comes when we are willing to face our fears and vulnerabilities, when we are willing to let go of the things that no longer serve us, and when we are willing to accept that growth is a lifelong process, not a destination. This lesson is a reminder that growth is not about the things we accumulate or the praise we receive. It is about the way we evolve from the inside out. It's about developing a strong, resilient heart and mind, one that is not swayed by the opinions of others or the distractions of the world. It's about finding peace within ourselves, regardless of what's happening around us. It's about becoming more present, more compassionate, and more in tune with the deeper aspects of life. The next time you find yourself chasing after something that glitters, whether it's wealth, fame, or approval, take a moment to ask yourself, is this really what I need for my growth? Am I seeking external validation, or am I seeking deeper internal growth? The truth is that real growth happens when we stop looking outside ourselves for answers and start turning inward, where the real treasures of life lie. True growth is not about the things that glitter. It's about the things that endure, the things that come from within, the peace, wisdom, and love that we cultivate in our hearts. When we learn to seek these deeper sources of growth, we will find a fulfillment that is lasting and true. And when we stop chasing after the glitter and start focusing on what really matters, we will find that the path to growth is not as difficult as we once thought. It's already within us, waiting to be uncovered. Lesson 12. There is nothing to become, only something to remember. In life, we are constantly striving for something. A new job, more success, a better version of ourselves. It feels as though there is always something we need to become, something more we need to achieve in order to be happy and fulfilled. Society tells us that we need to become better, smarter, richer, and more powerful. But what if the truth is that we don't need to become anything at all? What if the path to fulfillment and peace is not about striving for more, but remembering who we truly are? In Buddhist teachings, there is a concept of remembering. It's not about becoming someone different, but reconnecting with the true nature that has always been within us. You already possess everything you need. It's already within you, hidden beneath layers of distraction, desire, and self-doubt. The process of growth isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about peeling back the layers that obscure your true self. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned by society, family, and our own experiences. We are taught to want, to need, and to pursue. We build identities around what we have, what we do, and how we are perceived by others. But this constant striving often leads to a sense of emptiness. We are chasing after something outside of ourselves, believing that it will complete us. However, true peace comes not from becoming, but from remembering. It's about returning to the essence of who you are before the world told you who to be. Think about the analogy of a tree. A tree doesn't try to become anything it is not. It doesn't strive to grow faster or to be a certain size. It simply remembers how to grow and is nourished by the conditions around it. Similarly, you don't need to become someone else or chase after external goals to be fulfilled. Instead, you need to reconnect with your true nature, your core, which is already whole and complete. The idea of becoming suggests that we are lacking something, that we are incomplete, and must find something outside ourselves to fill that void. But in reality, this void is only created by the illusion that we are not already whole. If we stop looking outside and instead turn inward, we can begin to remember that everything we seek, peace, love, fulfillment, is already within us. Buddhism teaches that the nature of the mind is pure, and that through meditation and mindfulness, we can reconnect with this purity. It's not about trying to force change or becoming someone different. It's about quieting the noise and remembering who you are beneath it all. When you let go of the need to become, you create the space to return to yourself, to remember the part of you that is timeless and whole. In this journey, there's no need to push, to strive, or to struggle. The more you try to become something, the more you distance yourself from your true essence. Instead, take a step back and embrace the present moment. Stop looking for validation from others or chasing after an idealized version of yourself. Instead, look within, where everything you seek is already waiting for you to remember. This process of remembering isn't about achieving anything. It's about rediscovering the truth of who you are and allowing that truth to guide you. It's about aligning yourself with the natural flow of life, accepting yourself as you are, and understanding that you are already complete. The goal is not to become something, but to remember everything that you've always been. Life becomes much simpler when we stop the constant striving. You are already everything you need to be. There is no future version of yourself that is more complete or more fulfilled than you are right now. You don't need to chase after anything because you are already whole. It's just a matter of remembering, letting go of the illusion of lack, and embracing the fullness of the present moment. When you stop trying to become, you free yourself from the weight of expectation and self-doubt. You can finally rest in the knowledge that you are enough just as you are. This sense of peace and acceptance allows you to live a life that is authentic and true to your nature. You don't need to become anything more, because in reality, you already are everything you were meant to be. As we close this journey, remember, you don't need to become anything more. Everything you seek is already within you, waiting to be remembered. True peace, love, and growth come not from striving, but from embracing the essence of who you are right now. As you rest tonight, let go of the need to change and simply be. Trust that the most powerful transformation happens when we stop chasing and start remembering. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If these lessons resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe for more. Sleep well, knowing you are already whole. May your dreams bring clarity, and may you wake with peace and purpose. Good night, and remember, you are enough.